Okay, let's unpack this. We've got quite a compelling stack of sources today, taking us right to the heart of some really dynamic headlines coming out of India on this Sunday, July 6th, 2025.
It really is quite a mix. What's fascinating here, I think, is the sheer breadth of these stories. From the roar of the cricket stadium to well, the silent threat of a cyber breach,
Right.
and then from geopolitical trade maneuvers all the way to the very foundation of judicial thought. These headlines, they really offer a rich tapestry of a nation in constant motion.
Yeah, absolutely. So our mission today is to cut through the noise, really, to extract the most important nuggets of knowledge from these top stories. We want to help you understand not just what happened, but why it matters and what that bigger picture looks, feels, and, well, sounds like.
Exactly. We'll be connecting the dots, exploring the implications and giving you the context you need to feel truly well-informed, even on topics that might seem pretty complex at first glance.
Okay, so let's dive right in. A topic that always gets people talking in India: cricket. We're seeing India really showcasing its sporting prowess right now, both with the senior team in Test cricket and this astonishing rise of youth talent.
Indeed. Let's start with the senior team. India is, well, right on the brink of leveling their test series against England. This is after a really dominant performance in the second match at Edgbaston in Birmingham.
Dominant is the word. I mean, day 4, India set this colossal target, 608 runs for England.
Just huge.
And by stumps, England was already looking shaky at 72 for 3. You can just imagine the pressure they must be feeling, staring up at that kind of total. It's a monumental task.
It really is. And,
Yeah.
it was India's batting that completely set the tone. Shubman Gill, particularly, was stellar.
Yeah, he was fantastic.
Second century of the series. Showed remarkable composure, technical brilliance. He really anchored India's batting charge. A very mature performance that, underlines his growing stature in the game.
It's more than just runs, isn't it? It's about commanding the game at that level.
Precisely.
And it wasn't just the batting. India's pace attack was fiery, really dismantled England's top order. Mohammad Siraj, he dismissed Zach Crawley for a duck, sharp delivery straight to backward point.
That kind of early wicket, it really rattles a team, doesn't it? Right at the start.
Totally. And then Akash Deep, he was just as lethal.
Very effective.
Sold Ben Duckett off an inside edge. Shows real precision, finding that flaw. But the big one, maybe, was Joe Root.
Oh, that was a beauty of a delivery. Nipped away perfectly, hit the off stump, that little bit of movement off the seam. Incredibly hard for a batsman to play.
So those 3 early wickets from the Pacers, that really put England straight onto the back foot. No chance to build any momentum.
None at all. And interestingly, even though India burned 2 unsuccessful reviews.
Which happens in Test cricket, right? When you're aggressive.
Exactly, part of the game.
Yeah.
But their relentless aggression, it just never wavered. They kept that pressure cooker atmosphere going, which is so crucial tactically. Didn't let England settle for a moment.
So beyond the score, what does this kind of dominance do for India's momentum now, psychologically, heading into the rest of the series?
Well, it's huge. It's not just about winning this match. It's about asserting dominance. It really reveals the strength of India's top-tier cricket right now. Not just individual talent, but that collective execution, the strategic intent that shows a team that's confident and can deliver under pressure.
Which leads us nicely to the other side of the coin, this incredible rise of youth talent. Because while the seniors are doing well, there's this explosion happening at the grassroots level.
Absolutely. And the name on everyone's lips right now is Vaibhav Suryavanshi.
Incredible story.
While the senior team was battling England, this 14-year-old delivered an unbelievable performance for India's under-19s against England U19s in Worcester.
Unbelievable is right. 143 runs off just 78 balls.
I mean, think about that strike rate. For a 14-year-old at that level, it's almost unheard of.
10 sixes and 13 fours. And he got his century in just 52 balls.
That kind of pace, that fearless approach, it's rare even in seasoned professionals. Just extraordinary hitting power.
And he wasn't alone. He had that huge 219-run partnership with Vihan Malhotra, who also got a century.
Right. That kind of synchronized hitting from 2 young players points to incredible talent developing across the board in the system.
And this isn't Suryavansh's first time making headlines, is it?
Not at all. He was already the youngest ever IPL debutant.
That's right.
And remember that 35-ball century for the Rajasthan Royals? Second fastest in IPL history.
Wow.
This kid is consistently breaking records. He's cementing himself as a genuine rising star, not just in India, potentially globally.
So you've got the senior team firing, and then this breathtaking display from a prodigy like Suryavanshi. What does this dual success really tell us about India's cricketing talent pool? It feels like a very clear signal.
It's an incredibly powerful signal. These performances, senior and youth, showcase the profound depth. It's almost inexhaustible, isn't it?
It seems that way.
It's not just about a few stars at the top. It's a vibrant, well-structured ecosystem nurturing talent from a really young age. This depth basically ensures India's future success. It's a continuous pipeline of world-class players ready to step up.
Sustained excellence, then, not just a flash in the pan.
Exactly. It suggests this isn't just a moment of glory, but a systemic advantage. Built-in depth that impacts everything: international squads, franchise leagues.
Okay, from the highs of the cricket fields, let's shift to something much more somber, but equally impactful. Nature's fury and the human resilience being tested in Himachal Pradesh. The monsoon season is hitting incredibly hard there.
Yes, it's a really dire situation unfolding. The India Meteorological Department, the IMD, they've issued a red alert for extremely heavy rainfall across large parts of Himachal.
Specifically targeting Kangra, Mandi, and Sirmaur districts, right?
That's right. And extremely heavy rainfall, just to put that in context, we're talking potentially more than 204.4 millimeters of rain in just 24 hours.
In that mountainous terrain. That's catastrophic.
Absolutely. It's not just water. It turns stable slopes into mudslides, roads into rivers, makes rescue incredibly perilous.
And the immediate risks are huge. Flash floods appearing almost instantly, devastating landslides, major infrastructure damage, isolating communities.
We're already seeing the consequences.
Yeah.
240 roads closed across the state.
Wow.
And a staggering 176 of those are just in a Mandi district alone. That completely cripples movement, aid access, rescue efforts, cuts people off.
And it's not just the red alert zones. There's an orange alert for several other districts too. Una, Bilaspur, Hamirpur.
Yes, Chamba, Solan, Shimla, Kulu, plus a low to moderate flash flood risk in other regions. It paints a picture of a state really under siege from the weather right now.
So talk about that geography. How does the mountainous terrain in Himachal amplify the devastation compared to, say, floods on flatter plains?
It's a critical difference. On flat land, heavy rain causes widespread flooding, water rising slowly. But in mountains like Himachal, the water collects incredibly fast in steep valleys.
Creating those terrifying flash floods.
Exactly. Fast-moving, incredibly destructive. And the saturated soil on the slopes becomes unstable. That's when you get the landslides, the cloudbursts, those sudden intense downpours, dropping massive rain very quickly. The geography turns heavy rain into a truly deadly force. Washes away roads, bridges, whole villages sometimes.
And our Mandi district seems particularly hard hit. 10 separate incidents just this week. Cloudbursts, flash floods, landslides.
It's a relentless onslaught, and the human cost is just heartbreaking. 14 lives claimed already from these incidents.
Tragic.
The worst-hit areas, Gohar and Funek subdivisions, they're still grappling with the immediate aftermath. Search and rescue is ongoing.
And 31 people are still missing. That number really underscores the scale of this.
It does. They've deployed sniffer dogs, advanced equipment. The search efforts are intense, and the impact on essential services is widespread too. The State Emergency Operations Center reports 258 power transformers affected.
So widespread power outages.
And 289 water schemes damaged. That means no clean, potable water for thousands.
The economic toll must be huge as well.
Staggering. Current estimates are already at 541 crore rupees, and officials think it could reach 700 crore.
For a state like Himachal, that's a massive blow.
It's a significant portion of their development budget. Huge impact on infrastructure, livelihoods.
So when you see these compounding disasters, a cloudburst, then landslide, then floods, all layering on top of each other in one area, what are the longer-term impacts beyond the immediate damage?
It creates this continuous state of trauma and disruption. Psychologically, the impact on communities, families facing loss and uncertainty, it's immense.
Right.
You see displacement, social support networks breaking down, increased vulnerability to disease, long-term PTSD, reduced economic activity because infrastructure is gone, erosion of the social fabric, and critical resources get diverted from development to perpetual disaster relief. It can create a real cycle of vulnerability.
And looking at the bigger picture since the monsoon started on June 20th, 74 deaths overall, 47 directly from rain-related disasters.
Grim statistics, and 115 injured. It starkly highlights this annual devastating challenge India faces with the monsoon.
The government response sounds like it's trying to match the scale. Chief Minister Sukur pledging support, sending food supplies by mule.
By mule. That really tells you something about the logistical nightmare of reaching these remote, cut-off areas where roads are just gone.
Incredible.
He's also urged locals to host displaced families, offering 5,000 rupees monthly rent assistance from the state, a tangible help for those who've lost everything.
And key ministers are on the ground overseeing rescues. Deputy CM Agnihotri and Public Works Minister Vikramaditya Singh.
Yes, on-site monitoring is vital, and the IMD keeps warning people to avoid vulnerable areas, water bodies, through early next week. The danger is definitely not over.
That detail about the mules, it's striking. Does it point to a bigger question about long-term preparedness in these known vulnerable areas?
I think it does. After decades of monsoon experience, you have to ask why more robust, all-weather infrastructure and perhaps better early warning systems haven't been prioritized in these specific choke points like Monday. There seems to be a gap between the immediate, often heroic, relief efforts and that crucial long-term investment in resilience. It's this constant battle, demanding resourcefulness in crisis, yes, but also proactive adaptation and infrastructure hardening.
Okay, let's pivot now. From the immediate ground-level crisis in Himachal to the intricate dance of global trade and international relations, India is navigating some really complex stuff, particularly around U.S. tariffs and bilateral trade deals.
Yes, this is a fascinating display of geopolitical strategy. India has made a procedural but very significant move at the World Trade Organization, the WTO. They've reserved their rights to potentially impose retaliatory duties on U.S. auto tariffs.
Okay, so reserving rights. What exactly triggered this?
It's a direct response to the U.S. decision to levy those 25% tariffs on imported cars and auto parts. The U.S. invoked Section 232 of their Trade Expansion Act, citing national security concerns.
Right, but India sees it differently.
India is interpreting these U.S. measures specifically as safeguard actions, and that term has a very particular meaning under WTO rules.
Explain that a bit. What's the significance of calling them safeguard actions?
Well, under WTO rules, safeguards are temporary measures a country can take to protect a specific domestic industry from a sudden, unforeseen surge in imports, causing serious injury. By framing the U.S. tariffs this way, India is trying to legally justify a proportional retaliatory response, which is allowed under WTO guidelines, rather than just acting unilaterally.
So it's about using the existing rulebook.
Precisely. India followed the WTO protocol, initiated consultations. Now that period's over, they formally reserve the right to suspend equivalent concessions on U.S. exports. It lays the groundwork, but crucially, it's not imposing tariffs yet.
So what does reserving rights actually achieve in this context? Why is it strategic, not aggressive?
It's highly strategic because it's a formal notice. India might act, but isn't acting yet. This gives them leverage in ongoing negotiations. It signals they'll protect their interests, but crucially, they're doing it within the established framework of international trade law. Shows adherence to global rules while asserting sovereignty. It's assertive, prepared, but not belligerent.
And importantly, this WTO move doesn't stop the ongoing bilateral trade talks between India and the U.S.
Not at all. In fact, it aligns with the WTO's agreement on safeguards. It's a standard procedure. And both countries are actively working on a much bigger trade pact.
The goal is fall 2025 for the first phase.
Yeah.
And that ambitious target to more than double trade volume.
From $191 billion to $500 billion by 2030. That's a huge leap. Would really reshape trade flows between them.
And they're also pushing for an interim deal before that July 9th deadline, when the suspension of earlier U.S. tariffs expires?
Yes. Though there's still uncertainty about getting that interim deal finalized in time, complex negotiations always are.
Which brings up that key question. How does a country like India balance protecting its rights under global rules, like at the WTO, with the desire for stronger bilateral relationships, like with the U.S.? It's a delicate act.
It really is.
Yeah.
And Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal was very clear on India's stance. He basically said India won't be rushed into agreements by external pressure or artificial deadlines. Any deal has to prioritize India's national interest and offer clear mutual benefit.
What does that statement signal about India's broader approach to trade now?
It signals a firm commitment to economic sovereignty, a rejection of being pushed around. India is negotiating on its own terms, prioritizing long-term strategic interests. It shows a more confident, independent stance on the global economic stage, shaping narratives, not just responding.
And all this is happening while global trade tensions seem to be rising again, with reports of former President Trump signing new tariff letters.
Exactly. It's a turbulent backdrop. But Indian officials maintain their WTO action is a legitimate safeguard step. It complements, rather than conflicts with, their broader trade engagement with the U.S. It's not about starting a trade war, but protecting specific interests within the rules.
So, in this complex world of increasing tariffs and potential trade fragmentation, how does India's approach this mix of using WTO rules and pursuing bilateral deals position them?
It positions India as a sophisticated and resilient player. They can defend their interests within the multilateral system while also proactively forging strong economic partnerships for growth. This careful balance is crucial when trade relations are increasingly tense. It emphasizes both economic sovereignty and the need for strategic, mutually beneficial partnerships. Pragmatic and powerful.
Okay, from the intricacies of global trade, let's plunge into the digital world, the digital battleground, where protecting our online credentials is just a constant, urgent fight. And this latest news from CERT-In, India's cybersecurity agency, is, well, it's staggering.
It really is a massive wake-up call. CERT-In issued an urgent advisory. An estimated 16 billion login credentials leaked online.
16 billion, that number is almost hard to grasp.
It's almost unimaginable. It's not just a statistic. It signifies a potentially terrifying proportion of global digital identities now compromised. What does that even mean? A leak of that magnitude for individuals and global digital infrastructure.
It feels like information overload just hearing it. And the affected platforms aren't obscure ones either. Apple, Google, Facebook, GitHub, Telegram, various VPN services.
These are the services we use every single day, the backbone of our digital lives. It shows how pervasive these threats are.
So where did this massive leak come from?
CERT-In says it stems from 30 different data sources. The main ways this happens are depressingly common. Info steal or malware.
Software designed to steal data from infected devices.
Exactly. And, worryingly, misconfigured publicly accessible databases, like unsecured Elasticsearch instances. Basically, huge databases meant for internal use just left exposed online without proper security. Easy pickings for malicious actors.
So, often preventable security oversights, not necessarily super sophisticated hacks.
A lot of the time, yes. Fundamental errors. And the data leaked is exactly what attackers want. Usernames, passwords, authentication tokens, session cookies, even metadata linking credentials to specific users and services. It's a detailed map to our digital lives.
Which enables all sorts of follow-on attacks.
Precisely why CERT-In warned of heightened risks. Things like credential stuffing attackers, using those leaked usernames and passwords to try and access other accounts because people reuse passwords.
A huge problem.
Then targeted phishing. Crafting very specific, convincing fake emails or messages because they already have your personal data. Much harder to spot.
And social engineering, using leaked info to manipulate people.
Right. Tricking them into revealing more sensitive info or taking actions that help the attacker. And ultimately, identity theft, using stolen credentials to assume someone's identity, causing financial and reputational damage. And account takeovers, gaining full control of user accounts.
And these can escalate even further.
Yes, into broader attacks like large-scale ransomware campaigns, encrypting systems and demanding payment, or business email compromises, impersonating executives to defraud companies. CERT-In classified this breach under CTED 2025-0024. CTAD is Critical Threat Advisory, their highest alert level, reserved for incidents with major national impact.
So this isn't just another data leak, it's seen as a severe threat.
Absolutely. It shows how these technical details translate into very real, tangible threats to our daily lives.
It's that interconnectedness, isn't it? One leak cascades into so many problems because everything's linked online. So what are CERT-In's crucial defensive measures? What should people listening do right now?
The immediate vital advice: update passwords across all critical platforms, especially financial or personal data accounts. Increase strong, unique combinations, letters, numbers, symbols. Strongly avoid reusing passwords. That's your first line of defense against credential stuffing.
And the big one, multi-factor authentication, MFA.
Strongly recommended. Enable MFA wherever possible. Authentication apps, SMS codes, hardware tokens. It's that critical extra security layer. It can stop an attacker even if they have your password.
They also warned about phishing emails related to this.
Yes, be extremely cautious, especially with emails pretending to be password reset notices. Attackers use news of breaches to trick you into giving them your new password, and use reputable password managers. They securely store complex, unique passwords, making good hygiene much easier.
So the overall message is about proactive security and constant vigilance.
Exactly. It underscores the scale of vulnerabilities and the importance of user action.
But it raises that persistent question. Why, despite all these warnings, do so many people still fall victim?
It really highlights the human element in cybersecurity. It's this constant cat and mouse game. But human behavior is often the weak link. Convenience leading to password reuse, maybe a lack of awareness of sophisticated phishing, or just the cognitive burden of managing so many online identities.
Yeah.
And the long-term implications for trust in digital platforms are huge. If people constantly fear breaches, it erodes the foundation of the digital economy. It requires technological solutions, yes, but also a fundamental shift in user behavior and education.
Okay, from the digital realm, let's move to the foundations of society itself. Justice. India's judiciary seems to be actively grappling with its evolving role and the need to maintain integrity. Chief Justice Chandrachud made some really insightful remarks recently.
Yes, at an event at the Bombay High Court, he emphasized a core principle. Interpreting laws and the Constitution must be pragmatic. It has to reflect the evolving needs of society.
So not static, but a living interpretation.
Exactly. He stressed that judicial interpretation should address the problems of the present generation, not just rely on conventional readings. He even cited a past Supreme Court judgment saying laws must adapt to societal contexts to stay relevant.
What does that mean for how justice is served in a world changing so fast?
It signals a dynamic, forward-looking approach. It acknowledges that tension between adhering to tradition and adapting to modernity in legal systems. A static interpretation in a dynamic society can lead to outdated, unjust outcomes and erode public trust if the judiciary seems out of touch.
He also offered guidance to judges themselves, follow conscience, oath, the law, but also urging them to disconnect emotionally from cases once decided. That must be incredibly difficult.
It's an immense personal burden, surely, a testament to the demands of the role. He reiterated that being a judge isn't just a job, it's a profound responsibility to society. Maintaining the judiciary's reputation is paramount.
He also mentioned concerns about rude behavior from some judges, stressing professionalism and dignity.
Right. It highlights that human element of justice. The judge is both an impartial interpreter and a public servant interacting with people. The focus on professionalism and dignity is crucial for public trust.
How does a judge balance that emotional toll with the need for detachment for impartiality? And how does that affect public trust?
It's an extraordinary balancing act. Detachment is crucial for objective decisions, especially in sensitive emotional cases. But achieving it takes a toll. The concern about rude behavior speaks to public trust. A judiciary perceived as aloof or unkind can erode confidence, even if rulings are correct. It's about appearing just and respectful, too. And he firmly stated, judicial independence must never be compromised.
On appointments, he assured that merit, diversity, and inclusiveness guide the collegian's decisions for the Supreme Court and High Courts.
And he has that personal connection, right? His own roots in the Bombay High Court as both lawyer and judge. He praised its contributions and legacy.
So how does that appointment process, the collegium system, aim to ensure quality and independence? And why is the legacy of courts like Bombay High Court so important?
Well, the emphasis on merit, diversity, and inclusion aims for a judiciary that's competent and representative, boosting public confidence. The collegium system itself, where senior judges recommend appointments, not just the executive, was designed specifically to safeguard judicial independence from political interference, though it has its own debates about transparency.
Right.
The legacy of institutions like Bombay High Court provides that foundation established principles, ethical standards, robust jurisprudence. It's a benchmark, a source of pride, a guide for future generations. CJI Chandrachud's call for integrity, honoring that reputation built over generations, underscores the weight of that legacy for India's future justice.
Okay, from the halls of justice to India's strategic defense. A major leap into hypersonic missile technology. This sounds like a significant development.
It's absolutely significant, game-changing, potentially.
Yeah.
India is advancing its defense capabilities through Project Vishnu, developing 12 types of hypersonic missiles.
12 types. And spearheaded by the DRDO, the Defense Research and Development Organization.
Correct. India's premier defense R&D agency.
Now, the key things here seem to be hypersonic and entirely indigenous. What do those mean in practical military terms, and what does indigenous signal strategically?
Hypersonic means Mach 5, 5 times the speed of sound, or even faster. Militarily, that makes it incredibly difficult, maybe impossible, to intercept with current air defense systems. Extreme speed, maneuverability, unpredictable flight paths. They drastically cut reaction time for adversaries.
Makes traditional defenses almost obsolete.
Largely, yes.
Yeah.
And entirely indigenous is a powerful signal. India isn't relying on foreign tech or suppliers for these critical systems. It means self-reliance, strategic autonomy, a mature defense industrial base. It directly strengthens India's deterrence, especially against neighbors like China and Pakistan. Gives them a strategic edge.
And this Project Vishnu means India joins a very exclusive club, right? The hypersonic weapons race.
Yes, alongside the US, Russia, China. It significantly enhances India's national security profile with a credible deterrent. But it also positions the country as a potential key defense exporter in the high-tech market, reflects India's emergence as a serious player in advanced military production.
So it's got that dual impact for India's own defense and its global standing.
Exactly.
How does this tech fundamentally change strategic deterrence and regional stability, especially in Asia?
The potential to shift the balance of power isn't an overstatement. Their speed and precision make them effective for rapid response and, crucially, for counterforce missions.
Meaning targeting military assets, not just cities.
Precisely. Strikes aimed at neutralizing an adversary's military capabilities. Missile silos, airfields, command centers, carriers. That implies a more aggressive, potentially preemptive capability than traditional deterrence. It could alter the calculus of conflict and escalation in the region. DRDO aims to rival or surpass international benchmarks with this tech.
And this aligns with India's broader military modernization push.
Seamlessly. And with the geopolitical imperative to safeguard borders while projecting strength. With ongoing tensions on the LAC with China and the Western Front with Pakistan, developing advanced weapons underscores that commitment to self-reliance and operational superiority.
So in this complex geopolitical landscape, how does this commitment to self-reliance shape India's global role?
Project Vishnu is a transformative milestone. It affirms India's readiness to meet security challenges with homegrown solutions tailored to its strategic needs. It strengthened its hand in diplomacy, establishes it as a formidable power protecting its interests independently. It really influences that interplay between technological advance and diplomatic power, a statement of self-sufficiency and strategic intent.
Okay, finally, let's turn to this cautionary tale that's gone viral in the tech world, igniting a big debate about the darker side of hustle culture, particularly in Silicon Valley. The Soham Parekh expose.
Yeah, this story really caught fire. It involves Soham Parekh, a Mumbai-based software engineer, accused of simultaneously working at multiple startups, including Y Combinator-backed ones, while allegedly misrepresenting his status to each.
The initial reveal was on X from Playground AI founder Suhail Doshi.
Right. He publicly said he fired Parekh within a week for dishonesty, warned other startups. That post got 25,000 likes, went viral instantly. Then other founders came forward saying they'd hired and fired Parekh under similar circumstances.
Wow. What does this incident reveal about the pressures and maybe temptations in that high-stakes startup world?
It reveals an environment where the drive for rapid growth, quick wealth, perceived success, it can sometimes overshadow basic ethics. The pressure to succeed fast, the lure of high salaries, equity in multiple ventures, that whole hustle mindset, it creates temptations to cut corners or be dishonest. And the viral nature shows how fast reputation can be built and broken online. Rapid public accountability.
And specific companies were named as being duped. Linde, Anti-Metal.
Yes. Linde cited inconsistencies in his availability and work quality as red flags. Anti-Metal's founder said he was likable, but they quickly discovered the multi-jobbing and fired him.
And that social media scheduler, Pally, they withdrew a massive offer.
A $250,000 founding engineer offer. They withdrew it when Parekh refused to relocate to San Francisco. Only later, through the expose, did they learn about his other commitments.
It's fascinating how that pursuit of more can just undermine the absolute foundation of trust in a professional setting. How does this highlight the fragility of early-stage startups when trust is breached like that?
Startups, especially early stage, rely so heavily on trust, focus, team cohesion. It's their lifeblood, all compromised here. The incident underscores the risks of unchecked hustle culture, where over-optimization becomes a liability, fostering deceit.
Experts are warning about this now.
Yes, cautioning that the tech industry's glorification of relentless work can foster burnout, ethical breaches, and ultimately lower quality work. For a small startup, one member with divided loyalties can be catastrophic, jeopardize funding, delay products, damage morale.
Parekh hasn't responded publicly, apparently, but the whole thing highlights the need for tighter recruitment checks, clearer ethical boundaries.
Absolutely. It raises that big question, where's the line between ambition and exploitation? Productivity and dishonesty? What responsibility do companies have in fostering a culture that doesn't inadvertently encourage this?
A critical discussion, especially with work evolving so fast, gig economy, remote work.
Founders and recruiters are being urged to verify commitments more thoroughly, reassess cultural norms that equate juggling multiple roles with ambition.
So it's really a cautionary tale about that darker side of hustle culture in Silicon Valley's fast-paced ecosystem.
Indeed. A stark reminder that even in the pursuit of innovation and growth, foundational ethics and trust have to remain paramount.
Wow, okay, what a deep dive that was. From India's stunning cricket dominance, that young prodigy's rise,
To the devastating monsoon in Himachal, the resilience needed there.
the intricate dance of global trade, the omnipresent cyber threats,
The evolving philosophy of justice, India's strategic defense leaps.
and culminating in that fascinating, maybe cautionary tale from the world of hustle culture.
If you pull these threads together, these diverse headlines, they seem disparate, but they paint this vivid picture of a nation actively shaping its future, grappling with internal challenges, external complexities.
Continuously adapting, innovating, responding to a world that just never stops moving.
Exactly.
So maybe something to consider as you go about your day. In this increasingly connected, fast-paced, tech-driven world where innovation and ambition push boundaries everywhere, how do we ensure that those foundational values, trust, ethical conduct, collective well-being, how do we make sure they remain right at the core of our progress, whether it's in technology, trade, justice, or even just the individual pursuit of success?